My girlfriend just broke up with me via text message while I'm admitted to the hospital. What are your worst breakup stories, Reddit? The room is dark except for the dull blue glow of my phone on the nightstand and the thin stripe of streetlight bleeding through the blinds. Everything is quiet in that late night way where even the smallest sounds feel too loud. The fan in the corner hums steadily, pushing stale air across my face. I'm sitting on the edge of my bed with my elbows on my knees, leaning forward like that might somehow make breathing easier. It doesn't. Each breath feels shallow, like it hits a wall halfway in. My chest tightens with every inhale, a dull pressure building behind my ribs. I try to breathe slowly, deep in through the nose, out through the mouth, like I've been told 1,000 times before. It works sometimes, tonight it doesn't. I reach for my inhaler on the nightstand, and with fingers that already feel a little shaky, I give it a hard shake, bring it to my lips and press down. The bitter medicine hits the back of my throat. I hold my breath for as long as I can, then let it out in a wheezing rush. For a few seconds, I wait for relief. It barely comes. The tightness eases just enough to tease me like a false promise. My lungs still feel heavy, stubborn, like they're filled with wet cement instead of air. I take another puff, then another. The familiar chemical taste coats my mouth, my tongue, but my breathing doesn't follow the routine it's supposed to. No smooth rhythm, no calm. I glance at the clock. 2:13 a.m. Too early to be this exhausted, too late to pretend I'll just sleep it off. I stand up and immediately regret it. A wave of dizziness washes over me, and I have to steady myself against the bed frame. My heartbeat is loud in my ears, fast and uneven. The room seems to tilt slightly, like the floor has shifted without telling me. Come on, I mutter under my breath, not sure if I'm talking to my lungs or to myself. I set up my breathing treatment on the small table by the wall. The machine clicks on, then begins its steady whir. A thin cloud of mist forms in the mask as I press it to my face. The cool vapor fills my mouth and nose, and for a moment it feels comforting, familiar, like a ritual I've done too many times to count. I close my eyes and focus on pulling air in, slow, controlled, in. Out. The machine hums, the fan hums, my chest still fights me. Minutes pass like this. 10, maybe 15, I lose track. My shoulders ache from the effort of breathing, my throat burns. When the treatment finishes, the mist fades, the machine winds down, and the room goes quiet again. Too quiet. I lower the mask and take a cautious breath. Nothing has changed. That's when the fear really sinks in. It's a cold, creeping realization at first, sliding into my chest alongside the pressure. I've had asthma attacks before. I know what relief feels like when the medicine kicks in. This isn't it. This is different, heavier, deeper, wrong. I sit back down on the bed, my hands resting on my thighs, trying not to panic because I know panic will only make it worse. Every breath feels like work, like I'm dragging oxygen through mud just to keep myself upright. A faint tightness curls around my ribs, squeezing with every inhale. My thoughts start racing despite my efforts to stay calm. What if this doesn't pass? What if I fall asleep and stop breathing? I grab my phone, the screen lighting up my face in stark blue. For a split second, I consider texting her, but I don't. It's late. She's working long hours. I don't want to be dramatic. I try another breath. It comes in ragged and incomplete. That's the moment the decision makes itself. I look around the room, at the rumpled blankets on the bed, the half-empty water glass on the nightstand, and the quiet walls that suddenly feel too empty to protect me. My heart is pounding now, fast and insistent, as if it already knows what I'm trying to deny. I can't handle this alone. I whisper. I grab my keys, my jacket, my phone. Each movement feels slow, deliberate, like I'm underwater. By the time I reach the door, my breathing is loud enough that I can hear it echo faintly in the hallway. I step outside into the night air, and for the first time I'm truly scared. The drive to the hospital is a blur of red lights and shallow breaths. I keep the windows cracked despite the cold night air, hoping the rush of it might force more oxygen into my lungs. My hands tremble on the steering wheel. Every stoplight feels like an eternity. I lean forward over the wheel at each intersection, chest tight, trying to pull in air that won't quite reach the bottom of my lungs. By the time I pull into the emergency room parking lot, my vision is starting to narrow at the edges. The world feels distant, muffled, like I'm already halfway underwater. I shut off the car and just sit there for a second, forehead resting against the steering wheel, listening to my own breathing. Ragged, uneven, too loud. Get inside, just get inside. I push the door open and the cold hits me hard. It steals what little breath I have left. The walk from the parking lot to the entrance feels impossibly long. Each step sends a jolt of tightness through my chest. Halfway there, I have to stop, bent over, one hand braced against my knee, the other pressed flat against my sternum like I can physically push my lungs to cooperate. Automatic doors slide open with a mechanical hiss. Warm air and the smell of antiseptic rush over me. The sudden brightness makes me squint. The waiting room is quiet in that eerie late, nighty way. Just a few tired faces scattered in plastic chairs, a TV playing softly in the corner. The woman at the front desk looks up as I stumble inside. I can't breathe, I say, and it comes out thinner than I expect. That's all it takes. Someone is at my side immediately. I don't even remember the transition between standing and sitting, only that suddenly I'm in a wheelchair and being pushed down a long, brightly lit hallway. Fluorescent lights streak overhead in a dizzying blur. My hands clutch at the arms of the chair. My chest is heaving now, each breath a sharp, scraping sound in my throat. A nurse runs alongside me, her voice calm and steady in contrast to the chaos in my body. History of asthma, yeah, I gasp. Any recent illness, cold, I manage, maybe more. The hallway smells like disinfectant and something metallic. Alarms beep behind curtains. I'm guided into a curtain. Doff room where people move fast and with purpose around me. Cold hands press on my back, Velcro rips, my sleeve is tugged up, something tightens around my arm, blood pressure cuff, pulse oximeter, stick of an Roman 4. The needle stings, but the pain barely registers compared to the desperate ache in my chest. A clear tube slips beneath my nose, and suddenly cool oxygen is flowing into my nostrils. I inhale deeply, greedily. For the first time in what feels like hours, the air doesn't stop short. It still hurts. But it's a start. A doctor appears at my side, his face lined with exhaustion but his eyes sharp. When did this start? He asks. Yesterday, maybe earlier. I say, my voice shakes. Fever, chills. Yeah, thought it was just a bad cold. He listens to my lungs with a stethoscope, leaning in close. His expression doesn't change, but his jaw tightens slightly. That small shift is enough to make my stomach drop. We're going to give you a breathing treatment and run some tests, he says. Your oxygen levels are low. A mask is placed over my face. The machine hums to life, louder than the one at home, more powerful. Medicine floods my lungs in sharp, cold bursts. I cling to the edges of the gurney as my chest rises and falls in jerky rhythm. My heart races, my hands tingle. Time stretches weirdly in the emergency room. Moments feel long and short at the same time. Nurses come and go. Blood is drawn. Someone snaps an X-ray through my chest while I hold my breath as best I can. Eventually, the doctor returns. He stands at the foot of the bed now, chart in hand. You've got a lung infection. He says, on top of your asthma, that makes it harder for you to move air. The words hit me slowly. Infection? I repeat, we're admitting you. He continues. We need to keep you on oxygen, start Roman 4 antibiotics and monitor your breathing. Admitting, hospital, overnight, maybe longer. The surreal weight of it settles in my chest alongside the tightness. I nod because I don't know what else to do. My body is too tired to argue. Too busy just trying to breathe. As they wheel me out of the emergency room and toward a hospital room upstairs, the ceiling tiles slide past in steady, hypnotic lines. The oxygen hisses softly beneath my nose. My fear dulls not because it's gone, but because exhaustion finally starts to win, and somewhere in the back of my mind another thought forms, quiet but persistent. I have to tell her. They wheel me into my room just as the afternoon light is turning soft and golden, the kind of light that usually feels peaceful. It spills through a narrow window at the far end of the room, cutting across the pale linoleum floor and crawling partway up the wall. For a moment, I watch the dust drift through it, suspended and slow, as if the world outside is moving at a gentler pace than I am. The nurse eases the gurney to a stop beside the bed. The The brakes click into place. Another pair of hands helps me sit up, then stand. My legs feel weak, like they belong to someone else. I shuffle the short distance to the bed and lower myself onto the crisp white sheets. They're cool against my skin through the thin hospital gown. It smells like detergent and antiseptic and something faintly plastic. The nurse adjusts the Roman 4 pole, checks the oxygen line beneath my nose, and glances at the monitor that now chirps steadily beside me. "Try to rest," she says gently. "We'll be in to start your antibiotics in a bit." I nod. She leaves. The door clicks closed. Suddenly it's just me, the bed, and the soft mechanical pulse of machines measuring the fact that I'm still alive. I lie back and stare at the ceiling. It's off-white, speckled with tiny imperfections I'd never notice anywhere else. My chest rises and falls in slow, assisted rhythm now. The oxygen makes each breath feel cooler, deeper. Not effortless, but manageable. For the first time since last night, the panic has room to loosen its grip. That's when the loneliness creeps in. I reach for my phone on the bedside tray. The screen lights up my face. No notifications, no missed calls, of course not. It's the middle of the afternoon on a workday. Realizing that doesn't stop the slight sting behind my ribs. I unlock it anyway and open our message thread. Her name sits at the top of the screen, familiar and comforting in a way that feels fragile now. My thumb hovers over the keyboard. I don't know how to say this without sounding dramatic. I don't want to worry her. I don't want to seem weak, but lying in a hospital bed with tubes in my arms has a way of stripping away pride. I type, "Hey, I didn't want to freak you out, but I'm in the hospital." I pause, then add, "Breathing got bad. They admitted me." I stare at the 2 short lines for a long second before hitting send. The message delivers instantly. The silence afterward feels loud. I lock the phone and rest it on my chest, feeling the gentle rise and fall beneath it. The morphine haze hasn't kicked in yet. Every sensation is clear. The tight pull of tape on my arm, the faint ache deep in my lungs, the hum of the air vent above. Minutes pass, maybe 10, maybe 15. Time is strange in hospitals. It stretches and folds in on itself. Then my phone vibrates. Her name flashes across the screen. I answer immediately. "Hey," she says, her voice soft but tired. I can hear the background noise of her place. Maybe a TV, maybe traffic through a window. Normal sounds, a normal life, I'm okay, I say quickly, even though the words aren't completely true. Well, not okay, but I'm stable. What happened? She asks. I tell the story in fragments, the cold that wouldn't go away. The night I couldn't breathe, the infection, being admitted. I leave out the worst parts, the fear, the moment in the parking lot where I almost blacked out. I try to keep my voice steady. She listens. She tells me she's sorry I'm going through this. She says she wishes she could come see me, but she has work early and she's exhausted. I hear genuine concern in her voice, but also distance, like something is already shifting. "Try to get some rest, okay?" she says. "Yeah," I reply, "I will." We sit in a brief, awkward silence after that, the kind where you can feel there are 1,000 things you could say, but none of them land quite right. "I'll text you tomorrow," she says finally. "Okay." The call ends. I lower the phone slowly and place it back on the tray. The room feels quieter without her voice in it. The machines resume their place as the only witnesses to my breathing. For a moment, I let myself believe that everything will be fine, that I'll get through the infection, go home, and this will all just be a bad week we laugh about later. Then a nurse returns and starts my Roman 4 antibiotics. Cold liquid flows into my vein. I watch it drip down the clear line, steady and unrelenting. As the medicine works its way into my body, a heavy exhaustion takes hold. My eyelids grow thick. The monitor continues its calm, indifferent rhythm. And before sleep finally pulls me under, one last thought drifts through me. Quiet, uncertain, and uninvited. I hope she actually texts tomorrow. I wake up to the sound of laughter drifting faintly through the hallway. It takes me a moment to remember where I am. The ceiling tiles swim into focus first, then the steady green pulse of the heart monitor beside my bed. The oxygen tube is still beneath my nose. My throat feels dry. My limbs feel heavy, like gravity has doubled while I slept. Then it clicks. Hospital. Tuesday night. Halloween. The room is darker now. lit only by the soft glow of machines and the weak orange spill of light from the hallway seeping in through the crack beneath the door. Somewhere down the hall, someone is pushing a cart that rattles softly as it moves. A nurse's footsteps pass, slow and unhurried. Outside this building, people are celebrating. I shift in the bed and glance at the time on my phone, 8:47 p.m. For a moment, I just stare at the numbers. A familiar tightness settles in my chest. Not the sharp, suffocating kind from earlier, but something duller, heavier, emotional. Halloween has always been one of those nights that feels inherently social. Costumes, parties, crowded bars, cheap plastic masks, and cheap beer. Even when I didn't have plans, I always knew the world was alive somewhere out there. Tonight, it feels impossibly far away. I unlock my phone and open our message thread again, half expecting to see something I might have missed. A check-in, a thinking, of you, anything, nothing. I scroll numbly through social media. Costumed selfies flash past in endless succession. Witches, skeletons, superheroes, couples dressed in matching outfits, smiling faces under dim party lights. Everyone out there living in a different universe than this one I'm stuck in. I lock the phone and toss it gently onto the bed beside me. The hallway noise grows louder for a moment. 2 nurses pass by talking about candy. Someone down the hall has a cartoon playing on their TV, the high-pitched soundtrack muffled through layers of walls and distance. For a brief second, I imagine a kid in a hospital bed like mine, wearing a paper bracelet and a superhero cape, brave in a way I don't feel at all. A nurse pushes my door open and flicks on the overhead light. "It feels too bright, just checking your vitals," she says cheerfully. She wraps the blood pressure cuff around my arm. It squeezes tight, my pulse echoes in my ears. She checks the Roman 4, adjusts the oxygen slightly, and asks me to rate my pain. I say 3, because it feels easier than explaining the difference between physical pain and the quiet ache sitting behind my ribs. Happy Halloween, she adds with a small smile before leaving. The door closes again. The light goes off, the room settles back into shadows and humming machines. I try to sleep, I really do. I turn slightly onto my side, careful not to pull on the Roman 4. I close my eyes and focus on my breathing. In, out. The oxygen makes it smoother now, but my thoughts won't quiet. I keep thinking about her. It's been hours since our call. I replay it in my head, analyzing every pause, every shift in her tone. Was she distant because she was tired, because she was busy, or because she was already pulling away and I just hadn't noticed yet? I hate that my mind goes there, but the silence gives it room to wander. I check my phone again, still nothing. Outside the window, I can see the tops of streetlights glowing orange. Occasionally, a car passes, headlights sweeping briefly across the far wall. Somewhere in the distance, I hear faint music, muted bass thudding through layers of glass and brick. Proof that the night is still moving, even if I'm not. It makes me feel oddly invisible. Around midnight, a group of nurses walks past my door wearing cheap plastic Halloween headbands, cat ears, devil horns, a crooked little wizard hat. They're laughing softly about something mundane. Their joy is gentle, unintentional, but it still stings. I turn my face into the pillow and close my eyes again. Sleep comes in shallow waves. I drift in and out, never fully resting. Each time I wake, I check my phone on instinct. Each time, it's still empty. By the time the hallway quiets down and the night truly settles, a slow understanding sinks into me, heavy and unspoken. I am spending Halloween in a hospital bed. Alone, and somewhere out there, the person I wanted beside me isn't checking in. I stare at the ceiling one last time before sleep finally takes me for good. The soft beeping of the monitor counting off the seconds of a night I never left my room to live. Morning arrives without ceremony. There's no dramatic sunrise, no sense of renewal. Just a gradual thinning of the darkness as pale gray light seeps through the narrow hospital window and settles across the foot of my bed. The machines never stop humming, never stop watching. The monitor's steady beeping is the first sound I register as I surface from an uneasy, fractured sleep. My eyes feel heavy, my mouth is dry. For a few seconds I forget everything, where I am, why I'm here. Then I shift slightly, feel the pull of tape on my arm, the cool whisper of oxygen under my nose, and the truth comes rushing back. Hospital, lungs, infection, and her. I reach for my phone before I even sit up. It's sitting on the tray where I left it last night, screen dark, indifferent. My thumb presses the button, no notifications, no missed calls. The tightness returns to my chest, not the suffocating kind from before, but the slow, sinking kind that feels like gravity has increased overnight. I tell myself not to read into it. She works long hours. She said she'd text today. It's still early. People sleep. Still, the silence feels loud. A nurse enters not long after I wake. She checks my vitals with practiced efficiency, barely waking me from my thoughts. Blood pressure, temperature, oxygen levels. She smiles, tells me my breathing sounds better, asks if I slept at all. I lie, she leaves, and the quiet returns. Morning in the hospital is a strange in-between world. Breakfast carts roll down the hallway, a distant intercom crackles. Other doors open and close as other lives resume in distant, unseen pieces. I sip lukewarm water from a paper cup and stare out the window at a washed-out sky. I don't check my phone for almost an entire hour. When I finally do, it's with the faint hope that I've just missed something in the fog of sleep. Still nothing. That's when worry starts to sharpen into something else, something with edges. Did she forget? Is she busy? Or is she choosing not to look at her phone at all? I hate that these questions even matter this much, but lying in a hospital bed gives them space to grow. Finally, I open our thread and type a message I've been rewriting in my head all morning. Good morning, they say my breathing's improving. I stare at it for several seconds before hitting send. The message delivers instantly. The waiting begins, time stretches. The hospital morning unfolds around me in slow, unremarkable motions. A respiratory therapist adjusts my oxygen. Another Roman IV bag is swapped out. The doctor makes a brief appearance, tells me the antibiotics are working, that if things continue improving, I might be discharged soon. All good news, none of it quite lands. Every few minutes, my eyes drift back to the tray. My phone sits there quietly, screen dark, unmoved by my anticipation. I try scrolling through the news, through social media, through anything that will keep me from staring at the space where a reply should be. Nothing helps. By mid-morning, the hope that I felt when I sent the message has thinned into something brittle. I start to feel foolish for caring this much, for watching pixels on a screen as if they're connected directly to my heartbeat. I shift in bed and wince faintly as my lungs remind me they're still healing. The ache is dull now, manageable. The emotional weight somehow feels heavier. Maybe she hasn't seen it yet, I think. Maybe her phone died. Maybe she's driving. Each thought arrives with less conviction than the last. The room grows brighter as the sun climbs higher. The sterile white walls reflect it until everything feels overexposed. I feel exposed too, in a way I can't quite articulate. It's not just the hospital gown or the Roman IV in my arm. It's the sense of waiting, of being suspended in uncertainty. Almost 2 hours pass. Then finally my phone vibrates. The sound is sharp in the quiet room. My heart jumps. I grab it instantly, breath catching in my throat as her name lights up the screen. Relief surges first, then the message appears, just one. I read it once, then again, slower, and the relief drains away, replaced by something cold and hollow that settles deep in my chest. The words are polite, measured, distant, not at all what I was bracing for, but somehow worse. I stare at her name on my phone for a second longer than I need to, like if I wait just a little, the meaning might change. My thumb trembles slightly as I open the message. The first line appears, I've been doing a lot of thinking. My stomach tightens instantly. A quiet alarm goes off in the back of my mind, soft but unmistakable. Those words never lead anywhere good. I keep reading, and I don't think this is going to work out between us. For a split second, my brain refuses to process it. The words sit on the screen, perfectly clear, but my mind slides past them as if they're written in another language. I blink once, then again. I read it a third time. This isn't going to work out. The room feels like it shrinks around me. The faint beeping of the heart monitor grows unbearably loud, each pulse suddenly intrusive. My chest tightens, not with breathing this time, but with something sharper, colder. There's more. You're a great guy, and this isn't your fault. I just don't feel the same anymore. I'm sorry to do this over text. My hands feel hollow, like they've gone weak from the inside out. I'm still holding the phone, but it feels heavier than it should, as if gravity has focused itself into that small rectangle of glass and light. I'm in a hospital bed, there's an Roman 4 in my arm, there's oxygen under my nose. And this is how it happens. I stare at the screen as if it might change if I look long enough. Like the words will rearrange themselves into something softer, something kinder. Something that doesn't leave me feeling like the air has been knocked out of a room I was already struggling to breathe in. My first instinct is denial. She can't be serious. She must be overwhelmed. She doesn't mean now. I scroll up, down, up again, looking for another message that might soften the blow. There isn't one, just the apology, just the ending. I begin to type. Are you serious? Delete. Did I do something wrong? Delete. I'm literally in the hospital. Delete. Each sentence feels either too desperate or too angry or too small to hold what's collapsing inside me. My thumbs hover over the keyboard, frozen. My heart pounds hard enough that I'm suddenly aware of it in my throat, my temples, my ears. I look around the room as if looking at something familiar might anchor me. The blank walls offer nothing back. The Roman 4 bag drips steadily, indifferent. The monitor continues its calm, steady rhythm as if my body and my life are two completely separate systems now. I swallow, my throat suddenly tight and dry. She cannot see me right now. She cannot see the wires, the tape, the thin blanket pulled up over my legs, the way my hands are shaking to her. I'm just a name at the top of a screen. Another message appears while I'm still staring. I think it's better for both of us this way. Something in my chest finally cracks at that. Better, better for who? The sound that escapes my throat isn't quite a sob, not quite a breath, just a broken little exhale that leaks out without permission. My eyes burn suddenly, fiercely. I blink hard, staring at the ceiling, refusing to let the tears fall because I don't know who I'd even be crying for. I type again. This time I don't erase it. I don't understand. Yesterday you said everything was okay. The message sends. Delivered. The 3 dots appear almost immediately, then disappear. Seconds pass, then a minute, then another. Finally her reply arrives. I didn't want to do this at a bad time, but there's never a good time. I'm sorry. That's it. No explanation, no questions, no hesitation, just a clean, quiet severing of something that still feels very real to me. I feel foolish for how much it hurts. We've only been dating 3 months. Rationally, I know that. I try to tell myself that I shouldn't feel this hollow, that this shouldn't hit this deep, but loneliness doesn't care how long something lasted. It only cares that it existed at all. My phone slips slightly in my grip as my hand goes slack. I let it rest on my chest, screen still glowing faintly with the finality of her words. Outside my door, a nurse laughs softly with someone in the hallway. Life continues. Inside this small room, something very quietly ends. For a long moment, I don't move. The phone still rests on my chest like a small glowing weight. My lungs rise and fall beneath it, slow and mechanical, guided more by oxygen than instinct. The screen dims, then goes dark. The words are burned into my mind anyway. It's over. That's the part that keeps echoing, soft at first, then louder. It's over. I finally turn my head to the side and stare at the blank wall beside my bed. There's a faint scuff mark near the baseboard, a thin gray streak like someone dragged a shoe across it in passing. I fixate on that meaningless detail because it's easier than letting my thoughts finish what they've started. My chest hurts again, not the tight, suffocating pressure from before. This is different, deeper, heavier, like grief has weight and it's been placed directly on top of my lungs. I take a careful breath. It stutters halfway in. I force the rest. The monitor beside me ticks steadily, indifferent to the fact that my heart feels anything but steady. I swallow, throat tight. I don't cry right away. At first, there's just this hollow ringing inside my head, like something loud just ended and my ears are still adjusting to the silence. My thoughts drift in slow, disconnected fragments. I should text back something mature. I should say okay, I should not care this much. None of those things happen. Instead, I lie there, staring at the wall, replaying every moment from the last 3 months as if my mind expects to find the exact second where everything went wrong. Our first date, the awkward jokes, the way she laughed when she was genuinely amused. not polite laughter, the real kind. The last time she fell asleep on my shoulder, yesterday's phone call, her voice telling me to rest. I wonder when she decided, I wonder how long she's known. The tears come without warning. 1 second I'm breathing, the next my vision blurs and something warm slips down the side of my face and into my ear. I don't make a sound, I don't sob, I just let the tears leak out quietly, one after another, as if my body is trying to release something my lungs can't. I wipe at my eyes with the back of my hand, careful not to bump the Roman 4. The action feels clumsy, weak. I hate that I'm crying here, under fluorescent lights in a thin hospital gown with wires attached to me like proof of my own fragility. A nurse knocks softly and steps inside before I can answer. She's holding a small tray with medication cups. She smiles automatically, then her expression softens when she sees my face. "You okay, hon?" she asks gently. I nod too quickly. "Yeah, just tired." She doesn't push it. She hands me the pills and a cup of water. I swallow them obediently, the plastic cup trembling slightly in my grip. She adjusts the Roman 4, checks the monitor, and tells me she'll be back later. When she leaves, I feel even more alone than before. The room seems larger now, emptier. I turn onto my side, curling slightly inward, careful of the tubes. The blanket rides up over my shoulder. I tuck my hands together near my chest like I'm trying to hold something that isn't there anymore. My phone lights up once. For a split second, my heart leaps stupidly, traitorously. It's just a notification from an app. The disappointment is sharp enough to almost be funny. I shut the phone off completely and slide it face down onto the tray. Without the screen's glow, the room is dim again. Shadows gather in the corners. The only consistent sound is the slow, electronic echo of my heartbeat translated into beeps. I think about home, my couch, my bed, my unmade sheets, the habits of my life waiting quietly for me to return. I think about how, just hours ago, I imagined leaving this place with her support waiting on the other side of the doors. A ride, a hug, someone to tell first. Now I imagine leaving alone. The thought lands quietly, final. Eventually the tears stop, not because I feel better, just because my body grows too tired to keep producing them. My eyes burn, my head aches faintly, the emotional pain settles into a dull, constant throb beneath everything else, like background radiation. I stare at the ceiling again. The monitor continues its calm, unbiased rhythm. And for the first time since I arrived at the hospital, I feel fully, unmistakably awake, alone in my body, alone in this room, and newly alone in a way that has nothing to do with illness. The doctor tells me I'm going home like he's delivering a weather update. "Your oxygen levels are stable," he says, scanning my chart. "The antibiotics are working. We'll send you home with oral meds, rest, fluids, no exertion for a while. Home." The word lands strangely in my chest. It should feel comforting. Instead, it feels distant, like something I have to travel back to through a version of myself that existed before all of this. A nurse comes in not long after with paperwork clipped to a thin brown folder. She moves efficiently, unhooking the Roman 4 from my arm with a practiced flick of tape and plastic. The finality of it surprises me. The line that had tethered me to machines and quiet monitoring for days is suddenly just gone. The oxygen comes next. She removes the tubing from beneath my nose. The cool whisper of assisted air disappears, replaced by the raw honesty of my own breathing. I take a careful inhale. It hurts a little. But it works. That feels like a small victory I don't quite know how to celebrate. She hands me the discharge papers and explains the medications, the warnings, the follow-ups. I nod at the appropriate moments, absorbing only half of what she says. The rest of my focus is on the way my lungs feel as I stand for the first time without wires attached to me, lightheaded, wobbly, exposed. The hospital gown is replaced with my own clothes, jeans that feel too stiff, a shirt that smells faintly like my apartment. Familiar in a way that stings, I sling my bag over my shoulder. The mirror across the room catches a reflection I almost don't recognize. Pale, tired, dark circles under my eyes, thinner than I remember being. Someone who looks like they've just been through something. The nurse opens the door for me and offers a small, professional smile. "Take care of yourself." "I will." I say, even though I'm not sure what that means anymore. The ride down in the elevator is quiet, just me and a man in a wheelchair and a custodian with a mop bucket. No one speaks. The fluorescent lights flicker softly overhead. The numbers descend with slow inevitability. When the elevator doors slide open, the air outside the hospital is sharp and bright. Daylight hits me full in the face, real sunlight, not filtered through glass or muted by curtains. I squint against it instinctively, my eyes adjusting to a world that hasn't paused for any of this. The sky is painfully blue, a few clouds drift lazily overhead. Cars pass in steady rhythm. People walk in and out through the sliding doors, carrying flowers, backpacks, coffee cup, subjects tied to lives that never intersected with my hospital room. I step out onto the sidewalk. The air is cool in my lungs, cold enough to make me cough once softly. The sound is small, fragile, like my body is reminding me that I'm not as strong as I want to pretend yet. I pause there for a second, clutching the discharge papers in one hand, my phone in the other. I don't check it. I already know there won't be anything waiting. No ride, no message, just me. The walk to the car feels longer than it should. Each step lands with new awareness of my own weight, my own balance, my own vulnerability. The parking lot stretches out in neat, painted rows. Somewhere nearby, a siren wails and fades into the distance. Life in motion. I unlock my car and sit inside without starting it right away. The interior smells faintly like fast food, an old air freshener. I rest my forehead against the steering wheel and let out a slow breath. It fogs the windshield for a moment before vanishing. The drive home is quiet. I keep the radio off. I don't trust myself with music yet. Every red light feels too long. Every stretch of road feels like it's asking me to think more than I'm ready to. Buildings slide past, stores, people. My apartment complex appears at the end of the street, unchanged, same brick, same mailboxes, same fading numbers on the curb. I park. I sit for another long moment, hands resting loosely in my lap, listening to the faint ticking of the engine as it cools. I made it out, but I didn't come out the way I went in. When I finally step inside my apartment, the quiet hits differently than the hospital quiet, softer, personal, empty in a way that belongs to me. My couch sits exactly where I left it. My bed is still unmade. A half-empty glass still waits on the end table like time politely paused around it. I drop my bag by the door and sink onto the couch. For the first time since the emergency room, there's no one watching my vitals. No machines, no nurses, just my breathing and the unfamiliar weight of everything that changed while I was gone. The apartment is exactly the way I left it, and somehow that makes everything feel worse. My keys drop into the small ceramic bowl by the door with a dull clink. The sound echoes too loudly in the stillness. I kick off my shoes without bothering to line them up and drift farther inside, moving slowly, cautiously, like I'm not entirely sure I belong here yet. The air smells faintly stale, closed windows, cold coffee, the soft metallic hint of unused space. My couch waits in the same spot, blanket slung carelessly over one arm. The TV is dark. The lamp in the corner is still tilted where I bumped it days ago in a rush to leave. Nothing here knows what just happened to me. I lower myself onto the couch with a careful sigh. My lungs protest faintly, a reminder that I'm not finished healing. I draw my knees up slightly and rest my elbows on them, clasping my hands together like I'm trying to hold myself in one piece. For a few minutes I just sit there, no machines, no footsteps in the hall, no voices through thin walls, only the quiet hum of my refrigerator and my own breathing, uneven but mine again. I pick up my phone. The screen lights my face with that familiar, lonely glow. No new messages, no missed calls. Her name is buried lower in the thread now, already beginning its slow descent into history. I don't open it. Instead, my thumb hovers over a familiar red-orange icon, Reddit. I hesitate. There's a part of me that feels ridiculous for even considering this. I'm a grown adult sitting alone on my couch after being discharged from the hospital, contemplating venting to strangers on the internet. But there's also a heavier part of me that understands exactly why I need to. I don't want advice. I don't want sympathy. I just don't want to feel like the only person in the world this has ever happened to. The app opens, the familiar layout scrolls into place. I navigate to the subreddit almost without thinking. The question at the top of the page feels like it was written directly for me. What's the worst way someone has broken up with you? My throat tightens. I tap create post. The words don't come right away. For a moment, the blinking cursor mocks me with its patience. Then I start typing, slowly at first, as if I'm afraid the truth might resist being put into language. My girlfriend just broke up with me via text message while I'm admitted to the hospital. I pause, backspace, rephrase, type again. The story spills out in fragments. 3 months of dating, the distance. The scheduling conflicts, the cold that turned into something worse, the night I couldn't breathe, the lung infection, being admitted, waiting to tell her because she works long hours, Halloween in the hospital. Alone, her message arrives on the screen just as it arrived in my life. Quiet, neat, devastating. I don't dramatize it. I don't need to. The facts carry enough weight on their own. When I finish typing, my hands are trembling slightly. I reread the post once, twice, scanning for typos not because I care about grammar, but because it gives me something small and controllable to fix. At the bottom, my question feels both sincere and strangely numb. So tell me, Reddit, what's the worst way someone has broken up with you? My thumb hovers over the post button. I take a breath and tap it. The screen refreshes. My words are out there now, floating in a sea of strangers. I don't know what I expect to happen. Comfort, maybe. Distraction, the reminder that pain isn't a one-person experience. Almost immediately, the first notification appears, one comment, then another, little pings of attention lighting up my screen in steady rhythm. Each one carries a story, some cruel, some absurd, some so brutal I have to look away for a moment before reading the rest. People left at airports, at weddings, by voicemail, by ghosting, by silence. I'm not alone in this. The realization doesn't heal me, not really, but it shifts something slightly inside my chest. The weight is still there, but it's no longer pressing down in total isolation. I lean back into the couch and stare up at the ceiling, phone resting loosely in my hand as notifications continue to arrive. Outside my window, the evening settles in, streetlights flicker to life, a car passes slowly, headlights sliding across my walls like a brief spotlight before disappearing. Life moves on, so do strangers, and somehow, despite the hollowness, despite the ache still sitting quietly behind my ribs, I feel the faintest sense of relief, not because things are better, but because they are, at the very least, shared. I take a slow breath. For the first time all day, it comes easily, and in the quiet of my apartment, surrounded by ordinary objects and extraordinary loss, I keep reading.